Good evening and good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate here at 9 p.m. viewers. Tonight, we're going to talk about the big announcement that's come from the government, and after days of us speaking about this issue, highlighting the need to speed up our vaccination process, after days of us even campaigning about the fact that we need to open it up to the next phase, not wait till a few weeks into March to come up with that announcement, the cabinet today said yes, the second phase of vaccination can be scheduled now from 1st of March. Roughly 1.5 months since we started our phase 1. We will now be beginning our phase 2. What's phase 2? Phase 2 has specific target groups. It has the senior citizens, those above the age of 60 who will be eligible to get a shot. It also will have those above the age of 45 with few comorbidities. Now, the details that we have right now are the bare minimum, but we thought it is extremely important since every day we've been speaking with experts and we've been making this demand that government gives us some answers, that government gives us a sense of the plan and what it is and when it will start. Now that we have some of those details, it is only fair that we share it with you and we talk about it. So the next phase starts out from 1st of March for these two groups. Now, the vaccination will take place in about 10,000 government centers and also 20,000 private centers, 20,000 private hospitals. So the whole debate and conversation we've been having about a larger involvement of the private sector is expected to take place in the next round. Now, we're given to understand that while there will be free vaccination at the government hospitals, those who go to the private hospitals will have to pay a charge. That will be chargeable. So obviously we have a lot more questions. The government tells us that they're going to decide on the charges in just 3 to 4 days. They're currently having these conversations with the manufacturers, with the vaccine makers, as well as the hospitals to come about an agreement on what should the charge be. Now, what will be the cost? They're yet to tell us. What is the eligibility for getting the free shot versus having to pay for it? The government is yet to tell us. How will the private hospitals keep a track of the beneficiaries and doses? Will it all come together on COVID? One would assume so, but the government will tell us. Will those who are paying for the vaccine be able to choose their brand? We're given to understand they may be able to choose their vaccination centers, but all of those details will come in a bit. Let's have a conversation for what this means and how we should now move ahead for phase 2. And say good evening to Dr. Naresh Trehan, Chairman and MD for Medanta, Dr. Sandeep Budhraja, Group Medical Director for Max Healthcare, Dr. Suneela Garg, Professor of Excellence and Head for Community Medicine at Maulana Azad Medical College. She's also a member of the Lancet Commission, the COVID India Task Force, Dr. Harshal Ramesh Salve, Associate Professor for the Center for Community Medicine at AIIMS, and Dr. N.K. Arora, Executive Director for INCLIN and Chairman of the COVID-19 Working Group, also joins us this evening. Good evening to all of you and thank you for joining us this evening. Well, Dr. Arora, if I could start off with you. Help us now visualize how this is going to be. Will it be fair to assume or too soon to assume to say, well, those that the government takes the burden of and cannot pay for the vaccine, the vulnerable groups will be told to go to the government hospitals and the rest of us can go to a private hospital, self-register, go and get our vaccine shot?
During last about a week or so, we have been hearing a lot about the role of private sector. We must remember that private sector is mostly in urban settlements, not in very much in rural areas. And currently, in fact, till today, it's about 14,000 immunization centers are there. About 2,000 to 2,500 centers are in private sector, and remaining 10 or 11,000 are in public sector. So the government has decided to expand exponentially the immunization centers over next, I think, within a week or so. And primarily the current focus is so that the urban areas are properly covered. we know from various sero surveys that concentration of most of the cases are in urban areas. Even the outbreaks we are seeing is in urban areas. And therefore, urban areas become a priority. Urban system where the private providers do have a very major presence. And in fact, for clinical care, almost 70% of the care is provided by private sector. So they have been called upon to support the immunization system. But I must say that for the poor as well as in the rural area, the government sector will continue to take the lead. I think in the next announcement, the major escalation of immunization center will be in the government sector, covering most of the rural remote areas where otherwise private sector may not have its footprints or difficult for them to reach. So every section of the population will be covered in the process. The overall national capacity is to have about 100,000 immunization centers. So as we have heard today, about 20,000 in private sector, 10,000 currently in government sector, 30,000, and that will immediately triple our kind of output. So we should be able to do anywhere between 2 to 3 million individuals immunized every day over starting next week. And thereafter, as we move further, we should be able to immunize 5 to 8 million individuals every day across the country.
Well, that sounds extremely encouraging, and of course will mean that we need to scale up very quickly. And let's talk about that, Dr. Naresh Trehan. 10,000 government centers and 20,000 private centers. Will we be able to roll it out from first?
No, we have been ready because institutions like Medanta are already centers for inoculation, because like we had to vaccinate 6,000 of our own workers, and the government agencies bring the vaccine, they vaccinate, but the whole process is actually part of our own protocol. So the basic thing is that there are many, many centers who have already got the experience to be able to manage end to end the whole system of registration, inoculation, the observation areas, and the availability of intensive care beds if, God forbid, something bad happens. So now where we are is, what we have been saying is that if you go back to our experience with COVID, the fight with the pandemic, private sector and government sector came together to actually give a very good outcome. We have had the least number of mortalities in the world. We have had very effective outcomes as far as recovery is concerned. So now all that is already in the system. So you can bank on the fact that the private sector and the government sector can continue to work together. This is more like a fusion between the two. We do it where we are needed. And institutions already have the experience. So we can go up to 200, 300 a day. We have always done, with the help of the government, in Medanta, 400 people a day. So we can ramp up very easily. And like was announced by the government, that they want to, and Dr. Arora just said, that we want to ramp up to at least 50 lakhs per day, few million a day. 5 million a day would be the ideal. That way we can expect to reach the target in the next 2 to 3 months. So I think it's very welcome news. I can see the excitement in everybody. This is we were waiting for it. We were all talking about it and giving solutions. Now, the good part is that we had offered from the private providers that, look, the government can fix the price at which we will get the vaccine and give a small margin to cover the cost of injecting. And that's all. There should be no profiteering. There should be no excessive charge. This is the national duty every medical professional and facility has to have. So I think the field has been laid out quite well.
Yeah. Well, so in fact, that was going to be my next question, and maybe Dr. Sandeep, I can bring it to you. Can we say that largely the private sector is in agreement that we can fix the price, and that will be done with the government, the price of the vaccine at which it is sold and the overhead costs that the hospital may want to charge, that will, like our testing kits, that will also be capped?
Absolutely. I think this is a very welcome move. And right from day one of start of COVID outbreak, I think private healthcare has been partnering shoulder to shoulder with government. And this is again a time we would be very, very keen to participate. And in fact, we have been doing since the start of vaccination drive. At Max Healthcare, we have vaccinated almost 20,000 people in NCR so far. And I think to scale up to the level which government wants and which is the need of the day, I think private healthcare can really pitch in a very big way. And all we are expecting from the government is to provide the doses or let us have the availability of vaccines depending upon how many numbers one has to cater, and set a price which offsets our cost. And at that, we can really scale up. Our infrastructure is ready, geared up. We have adequate manpower to scale up actually cover the vulnerable population that's above 60 years presently, which is being decided, or above 45 years with medical comorbidities. Now, if you talk about Delhi per se, there are almost 15 lakhs people above 60 years of age. Now, that population, if there is collective public-private partnership in a place like Delhi, I think we can easily cover that population of 60 plus in 2 to 3 weeks period. And similarly, above 45 with vulnerable population over the next few weeks. So 6 to 8 weeks is easily achievable target, provided the application of CoWIN or the registration process goes very well.
Dr. Budreja, I'm sorry, I may sound a little skeptic here, but we're looking at roughly less than 1.2 crore that we've done in 6 weeks across the nation. You are saying that we actually have the system in place already to do 50 to 60 lakh within the national capital in 2 to 3 weeks?
Well, if I can try to answer that question, answer to that is yes. See, there are three things involved: infrastructure, manpower, and the supply of vaccine.
Yeah.
And of course, the syringes and needles. Now, infrastructure augmentation can be at multiple levels. So within the hospital, within nursing homes, at a community level, at RWA level, at corporates, provided government allows the vaccination drive to be taken outside of the hospital premises. So there are big health centers. The hospitals can pitch in and create those clinics. In colleges, just like you have in elections, in RWAs. So if we collectively involve the community and use that infrastructure, which is already there, manpower, we have been training, our manpower is ready. It's a simple intramuscular injection, which nurses, the paramedics are trained, and we have created videos and training material, and that's been ongoing for a while. So manpower and these people can be brought in with the same numbers, work a few hours extra, get extra money, and we can arrange in a way that hospital services don't get impacted, and at the same time we can deliver those services. In fact, what we have seen in the last 1.5 months, per center there was a capping of 100 vaccinations a day, and those 100 vaccinations we could easily finish by first half of the day.
Okay.
And second half, there was a spare time, spare infrastructure, spare manpower available, provided we had more vaccines to be administered.
Yeah.
And we did see a problem of vaccine hesitancy even amongst healthcare workers. But vaccine hesitancy notwithstanding, I think there is still a large population which is accepting this vaccine and which will accept that vaccine, and they should not be denied. And in fact, given at the earliest possible, in case we are looking towards a second wave, which is a real threat. So this is the right time for us to act and act very fast.
So let me take this forward. I completely agree with you. And Dr. Sunila Garg, the first phase was supposed to be about 3 crore healthcare workers and frontline workers, and then 27 crore in the next phase. That was roughly the math that we were working with to say by August we should be able to do it. Would this age group that has now been categorized, are we roughly looking at 27 crore people or lesser than that?
No, if we are looking at 60 plus and we are looking at, people 45 plus with comorbids, then we are looking at around 12 crores individuals. So we will not stop at 10 crores individuals or 12 crores. Will be now, ultimately, the aim is to scale down to 50 plus and all that. But this is the beginning, and this is how we make a, modest beginning to start with, 10,000 in private government sector and 20,000 in private sector. And the most important point is, which has been made, is that primarily we have to see that, apart from the availability of the vaccine and availability of the infrastructure and all that, it is the ultimately we are dependent upon the individuals who have got to come to the facilities. So this is where there have got to be multi-pronged strategies, and because we have to not only address the vaccine hesitancy part, we have to look at many concerns which the people will have, and we are looking at 60 plus who will be walking to the healthcare facilities or who will be brought to the healthcare facilities with their it will not be that they will be getting the information, but they will be walking to the healthcare facilities with a ID card and all that, so which will be verified over there. So to minimize the errors which have occurred due to COVID app and all that, so that we can do quickly the whole thing. But the whole important challenge is also that after when we do this is a perfect example of private public partnership. But at the end of the day, what we will be requiring is the total number of people who have been immunized. So monitoring becomes the key important thing, so that tomorrow we need the data from the government's perspective also, that how many have been immunized, and then ultimately how many of them they turn up for the second dose as well. So monitoring becomes a very, very important and challenging issue for the private sector as well. And cost considerations, of course, yesterday I was in FICCI meeting as well, also as has been also mentioned by Dr. Trehan, that this is at this point of time, this is not a money making point. It is only basically under corporate social responsibility. We are the private sector is also trying to help out the government, and they have stood up at different occasions, and they have never backed out of this. And the perfect example of it is that being involved in TB program as well. So I feel that this is a perfect move, and we will go ahead with this whole thing in a manner so that ultimately we can scale down to the lower level as well.
Oh yes, absolutely. So here is the other aspect. How are we going to ensure that it's all being tracked in a comprehensive manner, as we now stare at extremely large numbers, and we have to because of a country of our size. Dr. Salve, will it all still be centralized into the CoWIN app? Because even now, many of the states are complaining that the app gives us a lot of glitches, and often we get slowed down because of it. And now we're looking at ramping it up exponentially.
Yes, it has to be monitored centrally. And yes, I do acknowledge the fact that currently there are many glitches in the CoWIN app in terms of monitoring, in terms of giving appointments also. But it has to be done centrally. And yes, the involvement of the private sector plays an important role, not only in providing the service, but also the monitoring. The monitoring remains the key, especially in the involvement of the private sector, with the examples and with the experience we have with the other national program. But that has to be ramped up by using a perfect IT solution. I think it can be done over a period of time. And one more important thing is the scale is humongous. Currently, if you see the numbers, we have till now vaccinated less than 10 million population, that to a captive population of healthcare workers, amounting both attributed to both the vaccine hesitancy as well as the communication related issues and some sort of access issues also. And these issues will be more when we go to the general public, be it 50 plus with comorbid population. The challenge is huge. And we also do not want our public facilities, which are already recapitulating their routine services in the post-COVID time, to again get overburdened with this humongous crowd and other responsibilities. So involvement of private sector will ensure both the scalability of the vaccine program, as well as decongesting our sort of public health system, which are more serving the other health programs which are crucial, for example, tuberculosis, to decongest that facilities and again help to recapitulate the other programs also. But yes, as we said, it has to be regulated involvement in terms of, like we did it, that we have witnessed during the RT-PCR testing. There was the involvement of private players, private laboratories, which is recognized by the ICMR with the capping on the price. That is very required. So two things which are important after involvement of private sector: the regularization, regulation of their involvement, as well as some accountability in terms of the monitoring is a key.
Okay. Obviously, there will be detailed set of guidelines and briefings that will be done in the coming days. But conceptually, are we looking at a possibility where people who are going to be paying for their vaccine will also get to choose their vaccine, Dr. Trehan? Right now, there are two which are available. Hopefully, come summer, we will have a lot more of these options there. Will people be able to choose these vaccines? Is there a conversation about that?
Well, that's not being offered yet as an option. The Covaxin was actually given in the government facilities before and being tracked as a trial, so that safety is established, which has happened already. So now it's immaterial. I think all vaccines that are available are coming out for availability today. They're all equally effective. So I don't think that there should be any panic about any part of the vaccine, because there was some Covaxin hesitancy, which is now over because lots and lots of people have gotten it and without any major reaction. One thing I'll warn you, no matter in our enthusiasm to ramp up and show off that we can do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, we should be careful that they have to be monitored.
Yes.
You may get reaction. The most important thing in this whole endeavor is to establish safety for the patient who receives it and their monitoring afterwards. So no facilities should be overzealous to the point that they are compromising the safety of the patient by not monitoring them properly in that initial phase. Because if reactions happen, there should be availability of ICU beds, the staff to take care of them. And when you are churning 30, 40 people every half an hour, you have to be careful and have the necessary services. So I do not think that it is proper to go to small nursing homes or to go to RWAs, because there the facilities for saving a situation where somebody has had a severe reaction do not exist, and then you are jeopardizing people's lives.
Okay, interesting, Dr. Sandeep. Would you want to add to that?
Yeah, at this part, I fully agree with Dr. Trehan that post-vaccine monitoring is very, very critical. So 30 minutes of observation, although, the experience so far says that whatever reactions have happened have been very minor reactions, which generally happen after the person has left the vaccination center and can last for up to 24 to 48 hours, and generally are very mild in forms of local tenderness at the injection site, headaches, body aches, and low-grade fever. In our statistics, out of 20,000 people who have been vaccinated, about less than 100 had minor reactions, and most were easily sort of managed at home. So, but still saying that, I think it is very, very important that we keep a watchful eye for the 30 minutes post-vaccination and have that close observation. Now, the other issue of whether this entire exercise should only happen within the premises of a hospital or can be extended outwards. Now, it's a matter of experience and how the vaccination drive proceeds over a period of months. If we see that we are able to handle situations and there is a proper medical backup, I think in times to come, that extension will happen and may happen, especially in smaller nursing homes, smaller centers, which have a backup attached to a bigger hospital for the patient to be transported to ICU if required. Now, long-term dependence on only doing administration in hospitals which have ICU may not ultimately be sustainable. We see the example of what's happening in UK. The NHS examples, the private physicians, the GPs clinics, are being allowed to administer these vaccines. So I'm talking about how we gain experience and confidence as we proceed further in this immunization drive.
Okay, fair enough. Yes, Dr.
Tanvi, one thing I may add here. You see, we are talking about two different populations. Healthcare workers and doctors and young frontline workers are a different kettle of fish. We are talking here about people elderly. We are talking about with comorbidities. What reactions we are going to get in those, we don't know yet. So I would still insist on extreme caution in the very beginning. We are all really excited about the fact that we will be able to serve the community now, that people who are our patients who are actually calling every day to find out when will we get it, when will we get it. Of course, we want to give it to them, but with caution. That's what I would like to say.
Okay, point well taken. I think, and obviously in the few days, just like we did for phase 1, even in phase 2, we will take it a little slow and learn our lessons. But, the point that you raise, I want to step back and also see it from the larger perspective. And Dr. Arora, it's not just about tracking people in the first 24 hours. It will also be about tracking them in the long term and how we are reacting to the vaccine, for how long is the vaccine actually being able to help us. Now, are we also simultaneously creating that system of tracking the beneficiaries?
Thank you. I would like to take 2 or 3 things. One is, I am not sure how many of us are aware that for every pulse polio immunization cycle, we immunize 17 crore children in a week's time. So that is India's capacity. So in terms of our capacity to immunize 5 to 8 million every day adults is not something which is beyond reach. Number 2, that I'm so pleased that on one side, I see the enthusiasm in private sector to come forward in a proactive manner and support. But equally important, repeatedly, Dr. Tirhan is emphasizing the point of monitoring. It is absolutely important that going down to a nursing home is fine, or any small health facility, but monitoring for half an hour is very important. I'll give you some figures. Based on last 35, 36 days experience, about 100 individuals across the country developed anaphylaxis. My doctor friends would all understand these are emergencies, but fortunately not even a single fatality have occurred because of the pre-training of our health providers. Adrenaline was given, and then wherever required, very few of them required hospitalization. But that kind of eventuality, when you are immunizing millions, so approximately 1 to 2 episodes or up to 4 episodes of anaphylaxis can occur with per million individuals immunized. So one has to keep that in mind. But even a one death, which is because of the vaccine, can create chaos and damage to the program. Third thing is that we are forgetting. Dr. Tirhan said that we can immunize the first 100 within half day. The actual thing is the second doser will also come. So we will have 100 new persons and 100 old people will also come. Those who have received, who are coming for the second dose. And therefore, about 200 to 250 is a very reasonable kind of a number, because so if we have, for example, 30,000, it means I can immunize new 3 million people, and I can immunize 3 million individuals who are
for second dose.
For the second dose. So we must understand the dynamics, that it is because it is important. Now, the final question which you asked is very important, and that is what kind of a monitoring is required. And for example, on a 7th day in an individual gets hospitalized, how do I keep track of it? And it is here that COVID is coming up. So the experience so far is that we started with 3,000 immunization centers. We came up to 12,000, 14,000 till today or so. And if simultaneously, private sector was involved from day one. And so we have now a very good experience with the system as well as with the private sector, that confidence is there with private sector themselves that they can manage it, and also the government sector. So the COVID software not only monitors the vaccine given and reminders and all those things, it also monitors any adverse events. So even if something is occurring after 7 days or 8 days or up to 28 days, they will also be captured. And it is very important. I like Dr. Tirhan's point that monitoring is absolutely important, because adverse events do occur. Even if they are mild or somebody is admitted, that has to be monitored. So therefore, we welcome the private sector, but this monitoring component is not to be forgotten. Now, the fourth thing which is repeatedly being raised about the choice of vaccine. Now, it has to be seen from a programmatic perspective. I cannot have 4 types of vaccine in Haryana, another 3 types in Uttar Pradesh, because vaccines are not interchangeable at the moment. Correct. The current data. So the broad program today is that in a particular state, a single type of vaccine will be available, so that it is easy programmatically to manage it. Over.
Okay, thank you for shedding light on all of those aspects, including the one about the vaccine brand. But though I feel that as we progress with time, even those who still have doubts or want to wait it out for Covaxin will be on board. Now, the second aspect, which is also very important, Dr. Sunila Garg, is how do we get people's queries answered? Already we've been flooded with queries to say, oh, which comorbidities, and who's going to decide on that, and what will be the order? Do I have to submit special documentation? Do I have to refer to my doctor first, ask him, seek his details before I queue up and get those details? Will that also be part of the government's larger program? Will that be left to the government and the hospitals, the private hospitals and the government entities?
You see, government has already got a national program for non-communicable diseases in which we have already got diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, cancers, stroke, and plus chronic respiratory disease, etc. So these are the diseases which are going to be on a priority part, and people can, have a certificate from the doctor, and they will be going with that certificate so that we know. But particularly because we already know that these are going to be there in 45 plus individuals. So this certification is very important. And roughly we are expecting about 1 crore individuals in this category as well when we look at a countrywide level. So it is, so this data will also be required, but we also will be, now who will certify? You rightly pointed out, this will be certified from a healthcare provider, that since how long is he suffering from diabetes or cardiovascular disease or from stroke or from, because these are the diseases, or from cancer. So these are the diseases which put the person more at risk of acquiring, the serious infection, and maybe, they succumb to mortality as well. So that is why immunizing them is very, very important. So the certificate definitely will be required. And if they walk in directly, then they will have to walk in with the certificate also, because that is one of the things, because of the CoWIN app glitches and all, walk-in provision is also there, but they have to walk with a valid ID card also. And secondly, also that they will also be provided the details over there about the vaccine part. And secondly, they can also, within they will be told that which worker has immunized them, and they can be in contact with that worker also during a period of time till next 28 days. And afterwards also, if there's any problem, and this will also be recorded in the CoWIN app, and then we will see that how much is, because adverse events following immunization, recording of them is very, very important. And we should not forget that this is the first large rollout for vaccine for adults. Though we have been immunizing through private sector adults for flu vaccine, pneumococcal vaccine and all, but there has not been a large, rollout on a government program level. So this is for the first time, and we have to be watchful. We have to monitor, as I said, both from the government sector and private sector. At the end of the day, we must have the data completely, how many people have been immunized, how many did suffer from anything within half an hour, what kind of interventions were done. And definitely, healthcare facilities are going to play a very, very important role, who have got the capacity to manage these adverse events following immunization. And Dr. Arora is already a part of that AEFI team at the national level also. So that's where we need to look at that AEFI or adverse events following immunization is one of the most important components of the program, which needs to be looked at it at greater details also.
Okay, fair enough. So, and you mentioned this, and I wanted to talk about it as well. And maybe Dr. Sandeep, you can come in on the fact that there are still glitches in the CoWIN app. Hence, the government came out and said, well, let's not slow down the process. If somebody's turned up, if there is a walk-in, go ahead, let's do the process, and we'll later on, update it into the software and into the system as well. But can we really proceed into phase 2 with that kind of a setup? Because now we are looking at a much, much larger number of people who should be getting vaccinated on a daily basis.
I think, monitoring these patients is very important, but at the same time, delaying the mass vaccination just because we would want further refinement in the CoWIN app may delay. And we may lose this window of opportunity which we have presently in our country. So I think to balance the things and put it in the right context, we should have a system of alternate walk-in registration, but then that registration process should be very robust. There should be a clear understanding as to what identification cards can be accepted, and there should be a clear process given by the government to all the private players. And this is, I'm talking of alternate to CoWIN till the CoWIN app is 100% sort of up and about and working. And there should be a way at backend to transmit that, transport or transcribe that data back into a platform which is CoWIN or something, so that at the same time we have a data which is maintained. We can monitor these patients post-vaccination, follow up their adverse events, at the same time accelerate the vaccination process at a short span of time.
Very nice. Absolutely. In fact, Dr. Arora, again, referring to the already existing mass immunization program that India has, that many other countries don't have the kind of skill that we do. It is possible, right? It is possible to have an alternate, robust, data system that tracks these vaccinations as we move ahead.
Tanvi, in fact, I would request all my panelists, I'm sure most of them must have seen the CoWIN dashboard. And CoWIN dashboard is updated every hour. So it is working reasonably well. The glitches basically it is having is that entering new names, particularly opening up with the common man, common public beyond the other three lists which are being done these days. And I would very strongly suggest, please have a look at it. It's like a dream come true. We know exactly at the end of the day how many sessions were there, how many vaccines have been given, what were they expected. So today, for example, we have 12 million people have received the vaccine, while we were expecting about 24 or 25 million, about 50%, just around 50% people have received the vaccine. And similarly, it also gives where all you can get the data up to your district. If I want to look at Gurgaon, I know how many centers were there and how many people received the vaccine today evening. So it is very well in progress, and I think it's a matter of just few days. Okay. I like the idea that we should not wait for it become perfect. Let there be some glitches. How does it make a difference? At least let us roll out as much as possible. And as we move in the ship, we can keep preparing it also. But I completely agree that we should not wait for a perfect IT platform to come in. We can work and move forward quite effectively. And that's what has been done during last 35, 36 days.
Okay, interesting. Fair enough. And in fact, on that note, I am going to wrap up this conversation. And this was, of course, just the first round, the warm-up round. We are still waiting for all of those details. And once the government has come out with the finalities and the modalities of how on March 1st the vaccination process will begin, then we'll have some of the experts back with us. But it's been a very insightful conversation, right from saying that there's been much improvement in the CoWIN app. And at the end of the day, by the end of the day at least, everything gets updated. The fact that the private sector is all set and geared and ready to go, as long as they're being given the vaccines and people are walking in, they will be able to take a bigger load than what we are seeing right now. Viewers, the first round was about 3 crore beneficiaries who were intended in the first few months. And of those, we've not really touched half of them in terms of the first dose. So there is a lot to do. So that phase still continues of the healthcare workers and the frontline workers, and they will continue to come in as per their turn and take their vaccine. But come 1st of March, we are actually opening it up to allow and in a way that about 12 crore more citizens will be eligible to get the vaccination shot. This time, though, there will be those who will get it free, and then there will be those who can pay for it at the private hospitals. What will be the criteria and the eligibility for payment versus free? The detailed modalities of the comorbidities, largely they would include people who've had hypertension, who've had cardio diseases, who've had cancer or who have cancer. Those will be included above the age of 45. So let's wait and watch when the government has more details ready for us, and we'll come back to you. But for now, this is good news. This is good news, some information and transparency coming in from the government on when they intend to take it to the next level when it comes to our vaccination drive.